Okay, so I just finished the playthrough of A Field of Flowers and Stars, and this is going to be my wrap-up. My overall thoughts on it, my final thoughts, comments on what worked well, what could have worked better, what the strong points were, what the weak points were, and just my general overall response to it. Number one, dialogue was fantastic. As I said before, there was never a point that I felt like either the characters were talking to the audience. They were always talking to each other, which is fantastic. Very often I see times where characters will say stuff that is important to the audience, but just seems like really out of character, like out of place for them to say. Is like, as you know, Captain, the warp core is going to explode. Well, yeah, if the captain already knows that, why are you telling me he knows it? Never had that problem, so props on that. The contained story worked for the most part. Limiting it to just the three characters kept it very intimate, and that worked for about I'd say about 94% of the story. The only points that the limited cast created an issue were when there's supposed to be a lot going on, particularly in the last part where Rain is trying to get up the nerve to apologize to Leona, and she says, all this activity out here is giving me a headache. Okay, what activity? I mean, yeah, the city's in the midst of a disaster, trying to respond to the raging and all that, and I get it. Yeah, it's fine, dandy. But, how much activity are we talking about? Are we talking, 50 people running around? Are we talking 1,500 people running around? Are we talking, trains, buses, and cars and all that flying around? There's just no indication on scale. How much activity is it? Is she being overly sensitive? Is she trying to be queen bitch of the universe again? Is she just complaining that, oh god, it's not quiet, I can't think? Something that could help with that without actually writing in more characters, just having more avatars moving around in the background, some animation to show the activity. Use that to gauge how much energy there should be in a scene. The other point that the limited cast had a little bit of a stumbling point was during the celebration. Well, not the celebration, but anytime that the crew is involved. What is the crew? I mean, I know it's, Leona's crew of explorers, and that's fine. But it was like before, early on, I made the comment, $5 as Leona's, the captain, only member of the Explorers Guild. The way it was being presented, it sounded very much like, like a weekend club that only had one or two people in it. So it was like, yeah, I'm the captain of my, LARPing group. I'm also the treasurer, the planner, the map maker, the coordinator, and the event planner. Actually, I'm the entire LARP group. Like, that's kind of what it seemed like initially. But then, her crew is big enough and has the resources to haul a ship? Really? How big's the crew? Like, how big's the ship? Just, the limited cast created some issues with scale. I'm not really going to call it a negative, though, just... It didn't hurt the story, which is the first big point I have to make there, and that's a very good thing. The story is never compromised because of the limited cast. But the presentation, it does create kind of a question of how active it is, how big is the crew, how placed is Leona in the city. Does the city have 500 people in it, 5,000, 50,000, 500,000? What are we talking about here? And that extrapolates out to her crew again. Is this, a bunch of guys on motorcycles that just happen to checking out stuff on the map? Or is this like the city's, emergency response team? You see what I'm saying? And that kind of segues into the only negative part that I can say about this, and that is the world building. A lot of the information on the environment is presented with a you already know it kind of stance. Like the police are coming. I don't have to explain who the police are, what it means when they're coming, or where we are, because you already know it. So all I have to say is the police are coming. But if I say the Explorers Guild are responding to the situation, okay, who are the Explorers Guild? What is the situation? Is their responding a good thing or a bad thing? You know, I don't have any context to really quantify whether or not what kind of answer to give that. Same kind of situation here. What kind of city is Aster? Is it a sprawling metropolis, a small coastal town? Is it a early settlement? You know, like in this background image, you know, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8 or 9 buildings. Oops. But I can't really get a sense of scale. Like, is this the center of the city, the outskirts of the city, the entire city? You know, and again, it just kind of all boils down to scale, really. It really wasn't until the last, hour of play that I got a sense of where Leona is in the city. Professionally. And it was, the captain of the Explorers Guild is something that can be taken away by the council. It's not just a club, it's something official. Okay, is this like chief of police for a town that has 300 people in it? Or is it chief of police for Henrico County? What are we talking here? So, but overall, very strong story. I really like the characters. Oh, okay, I need to qualify one thing. I love that I hated Rain. And I know that sounds kind of convoluted. It is a compliment. The writing on Rain was very solid, very consistent. I can very easily see myself tolerating her in real life. But she is not someone that I would get along with in real life. Okay? So even though, like, on a personal level, I would not like her, like, if I had to deal with her in real life, that is a very good mark for the writer, for the writing on her. So, I love the fact that I hated Rain. There's no other way to really say that, I guess. Fiona, I thought was really great. It was a nice middle point between Juno's more, we'll go with callous logic, or snarky logic, maybe is a good way to put it, and Rain's more emotional foundation. Again, as I said, I love Juno. Like, I want that AI now. Overall, it's a fun game. 2-hour playtime. It's pretty good. I like it. I hope you guys continue it. I would like to see a little bit more of this. Assuming it was a ship that was coming down, that was a shooting star. What was it? Is there someone else there? Can they use it? Is it a new problem? What advancements has Juno made in the city? Like if you do like another chapter or a follow up or something of it, I think a really cool effect would be taking this background and then fading into the 5 years later to show what Juno's influence on the city has been. I would also like to see some more exploration of the universe. Like I asked before, are wormholes common in this universe? In the real universe, wormhole, from the scale of intergalactic travel, wormholes are kind of like running across a rabid rhinoceros. Yes, that is something that could happen. There are areas that's more likely to happen, but it's still a rare occurrence. But Leona's people don't appear to have ready interstellar travel. Like, Rain, has her own ship, and it's evidently not a huge exception to anything. So I'm guessing for humans, space travel is like owning a car. Most people have it. Most people do it. Some people probably have multiples. Some people probably have bigger and more impressive ships. Yada, yada, yada. Kind of makes me think about a Grease road scene, or roadster in space now. Think about that. But Fiona's people don't have that. The impression I'm kind of getting is they're more of a modern day, United States, maybe mid to late 20th century kind of setup, where space travel exists. It is done. People know it exists. But the resources and requirements to accomplish it are so vast that, the average person doesn't have a spaceship and don't have access to a spaceship. At least not one that can travel in space. So, I'm kind of lost as to how someone who doesn't have ready space travel knows what wormholes are. Which then leads me back to my question of world building. How common are wormholes in this universe? And that goes back to my point about scale. So summing it all up, 9.5 out of 10 on characters. Writing for the characters is a solid 9 out of 10. The art is workable. There was really nothing that kind of blew me away in the art, but nothing that made me go, huh? What is this? The one footnote I will make to that, here we go. The background for the cave. Now that I see the full thing, it makes a lot more sense what was being communicated in the game. But in the game, the background was so zoomed in, I wasn't totally sure what I was looking at. The gray could just as easily have been rock formations as it could have been artificial constructs. So, but that was the only thing art-wise that was like, this kind of sticks out for me. I can't tell if I'm looking at a cave, a artificial cave, or an artificial construct in a cave. So, nice. I enjoyed it.